Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wine, Women, and Words. I am Michelle, and with me, of course, is Diana.
Hello.
And this evening, we have Gabriella Saab with us. You might remember if you've been with Wine, Women, and Words for a while. We had Gabriella on for Daughters of Victory, which we just discussed was 3 years ago. So we are so happy to have you back tonight to discuss Star Society. So thank you so much for coming to hang out with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be back.
So,
I'm so excited to talk about this book. I mean, we're going to get into the what the book's about here in a minute, but I got to be a part of your research journey for a little bit, and
yes.
it's You did.
We
did. We got to go around Hollywood and do some of the
Yeah.
research for the story. So I feel like it's special to me too. I'm glad. I know it's like all my California author friends are in this book because they all helped me in so many ways with all that and the research and the travel. It was great. Okay, so now we could backtrack and you could fill everybody in about what the book is about.
Okay.
Okay. Well, The Star Society is a book that is loosely inspired by Audrey Hepburn's life. It is about twin sisters who grow up in the Netherlands and World War II breaks out. And one of them stays to help the Dutch resistance, and the other is engaged to a young man in the Dutch army. Of course, the Dutch army has fallen by this point when the Netherlands gets invaded. So he's now in danger of conscription. So she flees with him to America so he won't have to go fight for the Germans, while her sister stays to help the Dutch resistance. And she raises money for them by dancing, which is something that Audrey Hepburn actually did, which I can get into later. But anyway, so the book picks up mostly post-war. We're in Hollywood. Ada is the resistance member. She is now in Hollywood. She's remade herself as a Hollywood starlet, and she is about to star in her big break. But there is a lot of rumor going around that there are communist ties and influences infiltrating Hollywood. And so her sister, Ingrid, meanwhile, is in Washington, D.C., working as a private investigator for the House Un-American Activities Committee, and she is assigned to go to Hollywood to investigate an actress who is suspected of running a front organization. And that actress is none other than her sister. So the two realize that they have survived, but they've lost touch throughout the war years. So they reunite, and they're both kind of trying to understand one another, what's happened over these last few years, and they go on this big crazy journey where there's a lot of drama, a lot of secrets, and a lot of who can trust whom, and maybe a little bit of some Nazi hunting in there as well.
I'm just shy of being about halfway through the book because, as
Okay.
everybody knows, I don't like to read it the whole way through
That's
beforehand
right. That's right. We won't
because I don't
spoil
want
it.
to give, yeah, I don't want to give away any
Otherwise,
spoilers
we would
because
on accident.
That's right. Exactly. It's so easy
I've
to
done
do. Oh, I
it.
bet.
Yeah, you know me. Of course I would.
And sometimes it's
So,
on accident. Sometimes we just
Right.
can't help ourselves.
Oh,
And then
yeah,
we
absolutely.
realize, like, after the fact, like, oh, that's kind of a spoiler.
Exactly. Or I'll be talking about my own books, like at a talk, and I'll say something and like, ooh, that was probably a little too close to something that could have spoiled something. Maybe I need to redirect this conversation.
and I feel like with reading the story, there's some twists that I'm sure are going to happen as we get in there because I mean the two have been separated for so long
Right.
and having that sister relationship. I know you've got sisters yourself, so having being separated from your sisters, there's going to be some of course tension, but also that those things that you need to catch up on and things that maybe you don't want to tell your sister.
Exactly. There's a lot. And a point I did not make, they are not only sisters, they are twin sisters. And so Ada and Ingrid have literally grown up together their whole lives. They're very close, growing up in the Netherlands. Ada's kind of the artistic one. She's the ballerina. She loves, music and dancing and theater and all those things. Ingrid's the more kind of factual, by the book, practical kind of one. She likes history, she likes politics, and she's the one who becomes the investigator. And so, even though they are so different, they are very close. And then, as you said, they are separated for all this time. So, when they reunite, it's trying to kind of basically kind of learn who each other is again. And, but also, they have all this history and all this closeness. So, they're reestablishing that while also kind of unpacking some of those things that, like you said, maybe they don't want to share.
Hmm.
And for the research for this, so we'll talk a little bit about your trip to Hollywood, because there's definitely some landmarks that you
Yes,
made. And we went to Hollywood Forever Cemetery,
we did.
which, I mean, if anybody's gonna have a favorite cemetery, that's my favorite cemetery. I don't know. Michelle,
Yeah.
do you have a favorite cemetery by
I mean,
chance?
I feel like no, but no judgment. I have my favorite pair of socks, I guess. I don't know what's like a weird favorite to have. I feel like a favorite cemetery is a weird favorite to have.
I mean,
You know,
maybe.
I never truly thought of myself as a goth girl until I started watching Wednesday Addams and the werewolf girl that has everything all pink and she's bubbly. I'm like, oh,
I
I
get it.
relate to that. These are my people.
Suddenly it all makes sense.
Yes, because I have a favorite cemetery.
Right,
It's the Hollywood Forever
exactly.
Cemetery. Yes.
Well,
I mean,
okay, I
there's
guess
some
I should.
movies.
Sorry, I didn't
Go
mean to
ahead.
cut you off. Um, I was going to say, I guess for authors, having, and especially historical fiction authors, having a favorite cemetery would not be all that weird. I mean, writers have favorite pens, right? We all have our favorite pen.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
so maybe not. I should have,
Maybe.
thought about it before I responded. I'll retract my previous statement. But I should point out that in our questions for the show, there is in parentheses reminder for Diana to tell the peacock story. So I don't know if Diana had a very cool like segue into it, but now, especially judging by how you guys are reacting, I really need to hear the peacock story.
Well, I don't think there was the story is it's very cute. So there's peacocks roaming all over like California. It's roaming all over the place here. And there were peacocks in the cemetery. And if I'm not mistaken, Gabrielle, those are your first time seeing the peacocks, right?
I've seen them in a zoo, but like I had no idea they just roamed around California and there are suddenly a bajillion of them everywhere.
So we're walking through the cemetery, checking out the headstones, like getting a sense of like the neoclassic Gothic style and architecture of the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, because that's very close to what you have in Hollywood. And this one over here, she's like, I'm just gonna go walk up to them, and I'm like, they're kind of mean. I wouldn't do that. I'm hanging back, and she's just like, well, I think I have a picture of
You
you.
do.
And you're like, oh, come here, peacocks. And you're like, real close.
About to get attacked, death by peacock. But
But
they're
at
so
least if you
pretty.
got attacked by peacocks, you were in a really cool resting place.
Right?
And
I should have planned that better.
yeah, you'd be around like the ghost of Judy
That'd
Garland
be
and
fantastic. Okay, in like 50
yeah, the
years, I'm gonna
guy
go back
Joey
to that
Ramone.
cemetery. That'd be great.
Yeah,
I should have put
yeah,
that
I'm
in the
sure they
book.
put on wonderful concerts at
Yeah.
night when nobody's there.
I bet it's hopping. They have a good time.
Yeah.
So I just pulled up Hollywood Forever Cemetery because I lived in California for years, but I'd never been there. And I had no idea that it's the final resting place for so many Hollywood legends
hmm
Yeah.
like Judy Garland.
Def
hmm
It was really cool. I'm glad we got to go.
What was it? Cecil B. DeMille is
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
The voice of Porky Pig. Um, the Joy Ramone. I think part of Toto's ashes are there, or if not, there's a statue.
Oh,
Um, the guy from I can't remember his name, but he had the really big eyes in Casablanca.
Oh,
The big guy's name was that he was a caricature,
oh,
and
Rick's friend. Uh,
yeah,
it,
not the piano player, but the other guy,
right. Oh,
the
I
guy
can't.
who's always
Mm,
robbing people. He's there, and he's been like in a bunch of like really old like Arsenic and Lace, Casablanca. Um,
Arsenic and Lace was a good movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was there. So there's a lot of like old Hollywood history that's there. And during the summertime, they do movies. There's a lawn that they go out to, and there's no graves that you're sitting on, thankfully, because
Yeah,
it's kind
yeah.
of.
Thanks
But
for
you go out there
clarifying.
and yeah, but you go and you watch. They do movies outside, and how you have a
Oh,
picnic
cool.
there.
That's so
They
cool.
have. I didn't get to it this year, but I really want to go to it. They do a Monarch festival at the a Day of the Dead festival
Oh, fun.
there. Yeah, so it's a great place. So it's also like both a Hollywood like landmark and also, this resting place. And like right behind it is Paramount Studios.
Yeah, that's
Just on the
right.
other side.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot they were that close. Yeah, that was cool.
Hmm.
So what other locations were on your research trip during your visit to California?
So I went kind of to a bunch of it. Pretty much, they're all pretty much the ones that are in the book. So I went up to Griffith Observatory. I went to the Biltmore Hotel, which, for those who don't know, is where the early hearings took place. Because the hearings started in Hollywood and then they moved them to
Mhm.
DC when they got like a little bit bigger and a little bit showier. Because initially it was just kind of they were I don't know if interviewing is the right word, but chatting with kind of more minor union members and people who were like causing less of a fuss in the media. So they just did those kind of hearings at the Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles, and then as things began to escalate, they moved to DC, and of course we
Mhm.
know all how that went. So I went there. I went to like just some places I kind of mentioned, like the Formosa Cafe, and did like a little tour downtown with one of my other friends. We kind of went on like a bar hop, which was a lot of fun. We ate at Musso and Frank, and just yeah, it was just really fun and a jam-packed week. I went to the Warner Brothers studio and I toured that. And they have like an old Hollywood tour. And for those who don't know, that is where My Fair Lady was filmed. And so I kind of got to follow in Audrey Hepburn's footsteps for a day, which was fantastic. And I went and found her star on the Walk of Fame. And there's some of the costumes from My Fair Lady that are there. So that was really cool. And just to kind of be on in that environment and kind of see how movies are made and be on a set and a stage and all that kind of stuff was cool because I'd never gotten to do anything like that. So it was a lot of fun.
I haven't had a chance. I keep wanting to do that tour that you did, the old Hollywood tour. And
And
I'm like,
now
I
they have
gotta
an
do
even
that tour.
better one. They've got like a true TCM one that is like even better than the one
Mm.
I did. And like it was
Oh, that's
amazing.
cool.
Y'all would love it. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I remember you went to the because I picked you up at the Academy.
Oh, that's
Um,
right. The Academy Museum. Film
mhm.
Museum? Or just the Academy
Yeah,
Museum?
I think it's just the Academy Museum.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
I
that
picked
was
you up from
cool.
there. Yeah.
That's right. That was awesome. Yeah, so
Yeah,
we
it was
picked you
like,
up from
what, you're in
there.
Los Angeles without a car and you want to go to these places?
No.
Let me, we'll take my car. We'll go.
I know I really should have planned that better, but luckily I have friends with cars. Um,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a really cool museum too. We got to see they had like a bunch of Oscars there from like all the different years. So that was kind of I think that was my favorite part of that one because they were just like all in a row in this room and you can just kind of go see how they changed subtly over the years. And
Hmm.
then it was just really, really interesting history there. And then they have like this big, I guess it's like a roof deck or observatory or something that's got a really cool view. So that was fun to walk out there. And then you and I drove around so many good places and
Hmm.
went celebrity hunting and things like that. No, we weren't really stalking celebrities, but I was convinced. And I did see someone that, because you can't be in California and not see a celebrity.
Hmm.
So that was fun.
Yeah, it was. And then, so now we have the Hollywood side of it. Now, was there any DC research that you did?
I did not get to go, but my brother lives there and works in the building that my DC scenes are set at, or he did at the time. And
Oh.
so I was just like, will
Hmm.
you go into this room and tell me what it looks like and take pictures if you're allowed? And so he was like, okay. Um, and I'd been before, so I wish I'd gotten to go, but I did not go for the purposes of this book. But I had been to DC, so I kind of knew a little bit of what I needed and kind of the lay of the land. And like I said, I had him for that, which was great. Um,
Hmm.
and I did not get to go to the Netherlands. I really wanted to, but fortunately for me, my best friend from college is living in the Netherlands. She met a guy from over there, so she lives there now. And so they were so incredibly helpful with like my questions about the language and like the names and like nicknames and things and like how you would refer to each other and that sort of stuff. And then also just where things were and in terms of like locations and getting from point A to point B. And so that was a huge help as well.
Oh, that's very cool. It's good to have people that are there that you can
Oh, yeah.
get that information from because I mean, res research is great and being able to go to places is great, but time constraints,
Yeah.
money constraints, hate to break it to our listeners, but not every one of us are able to spend a lot of money to travel to all the places that we like to write about.
Right.
So sometimes we have to be resourceful with our friends, with reaching out to people.
Yep, absolutely. Because as much as I would have loved three very expensive trips that year, that was not going to happen.
I'm glad you made it to California.
I am too. Yeah, that was definitely the most important for me because firstly because that's where most of the book takes place, but then secondly, I'd never been and I thought, it's so important and so helpful if you can, make it happen at all in any sort of capacity to put your feet on the ground of where you're writing about. And like you said, it's not always possible, but I wanted to make that one work and I am very, very glad I did.
As a Californian, I can say we get pretty, I don't want to say prickly, but we get, you're nodding your
Oh,
head.
I
You're like, no, I can
understand.
say it.
Yes, because I feel the same way when people like write about the Deep South and things like that.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
like you
it's
just
like we're
want
not just this caricature. You got to be able to know
exactly.
it because we'll call it out. We'll
Oh
point it
yeah.
out.
Exactly. And if you're writing about a place like that where you're not from or not familiar with, you want to do it in a way
Mhm.
that's respectful and that doesn't turn it into a stereotype or a caricature or any of those things. And so,
Mhm.
again, that's just why it can be so helpful to, even if you don't go there, you know people there, talk to people who are from there and get as much firsthand information or secondhand as you can.
So I know we talked, of course, we have the twin sisters who get separated by the war and, obviously don't know if either of them survived until they're reunited years later because of this investigation in Hollywood. Um, can you talk a little bit about how or what went into kind of crafting that relationship? That must have been a very I don't know what the word is, challenging relationship to kind of bring to life because you have obviously twins have a very, very, very close relationship, but then they kind of have to rebuild it and then they don't know if they can trust each other. There's a lot of
Right.
emotions going on to be able to bring those two characters to life on the page.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I wanted to get the emotional balance right. I felt like that because that's what's gonna drive the story of this relationship. And so I knew it had to be to make sense, but be convincing and all these things. And so you kind of had to think about their lives, how they'd grown up, what sort of environment they'd been in, and how did that shape them then, and how have their experiences shaped them now that they've been apart. Because this is really the first time they've ever gone through life without the other, is when they get separated for those 6 years. Because other than that, they're growing up together, they're going to boarding school together, they're doing everything together.
Mhm.
So that was interesting to kind of think about how jarring that would be if you're so used to having that person that you can lean on and then you don't have them anymore. And then to rebuild that relationship and rebuild that trust, because in a way, it seems like, they're going to have all those memories and that bond that they did have, but at the same time, there's kind of that awareness that they know it's not the same as it was, as much as they want it to be, but when they reunite, they can't pick back up where they left off because too much has happened. And so they have to kind of get to know each other again and try to reestablish that. So they have to, walk that tightrope between what they went through and what they know about each other, and also their own secrets and the things that they're trying to protect because they're on not opposite sides in the traditional sense that we think of opposite sides because they're not enemies, but they have had very different experiences and they have very different experiences in the terms of this investigation because Ingrid has been kind of keeping up with what's going on. And obviously, she knows there's investigations happening, and Ada and everyone in Hollywood, this is true to the history. When all these rumors of, all this communist influence popped up and people were talking about being careful, they were like, oh, this is ridiculous. It's going to blow over. Why is everybody being so paranoid? And so Ada's kind of brushing it all off and thinking, it's just talk and it's going to blow over. Nobody's all that worried about it. It's fine. And Ingrid's like, no, we're actually investigating you people now, but she can't say that. So that's interesting to kind of strike that balance between, as much as they want to be honest with each other, why are they not honest with each other? Because they're sisters and they should be, and they've always been before. So what is it now that's kind of holding them back? And can they get to that point again where they can fully trust each other and be honest again?
So totally easy
Yeah,
to yeah.
simple. It's fine.
And when it comes to McCarthyism and that whole thing, it was we always like to think, even especially in today's day and age, that if you're an actress, if you're a celebrity of some sort, life is easy, you have it made. But people were losing their jobs. They were
Oh,
losing
yeah.
their livelihoods. They were like seriously damaged by just accusations if you were at a party with somebody.
Right, exactly. And if it had, you maybe had nothing to do with it yourself, but just that simple act of association, whether you were knowingly associating or not, that was it. That's all it took.
Hmm.
So it was really interesting. And that was not something that was true to Audrey Hepburn's life, lest I lead anyone astray. She was not caught up in the Red Scare, as far as I know. Um, but I kind of wanted to use her life to shape Ada's character in particular because Audrey went through the war. She lost family members. She worked for the resistance, went through starvation, all these things, saw a lot of terrible things. And then suddenly becomes this extremely famous actress and person, a very public figure, when in reality, she was incredibly private. Like she would have been happy to just hang out in her garden with her dog and her family and just live a very quiet, peaceful, serene life. Like that was where she was happiest. And she did not like to talk about her past, of course, because no one talked about the war. But then she just had a lot of wounds just from childhood and her family and just things that had really emotionally scarred her. So she was very reticent when it came to kind of letting people know who the real woman was. And so I thought that was so interesting that someone like that, who was so private, would take such a public position, and be in such a public career. And so I wanted to use that for Ada because she's another person who has gone through a lot and has all these things she's trying to keep close and not talk about. But at the same time, she is now a very, very public figure. And so who she is in front of the world is very different from who she is away from it.
Hmm. Yeah, I did not know that she would Audrey Hepburn was a part of the resistance until much later, like much later and much later into my fandom of
Yeah.
Audrey Hepburn, that oh, she was a part of this, and that makes the whole like when she in her later years where she was working with, I believe it was UNICEF
Yep. Correct.
for children. I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense
Yeah,
too,
because
that
she
she was
knew what it was
involved in.
like to be that starving child and was like, no, 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 we're not going to stand for this. And so she was very, very involved with UNICEF,
Hmm.
later in her life.
And I wonder if how much of her going through that trauma as a kid also led to the fact that she was famously wasn't much of an eater.
Yeah,
Like,
she had a hard time just from, yeah, gaining weight even was very difficult for
mhm,
her because she had suffered so much and been sick for so long. And that's actually why she couldn't dance anymore because her body was just had gone through too much. And also she was really tall. And so, at the time, dance they kind of change what they want, what they're looking for, as the years go. But at that point, she wasn't necessarily fitting the dancer mold, but then also just everything she'd gone through, she was just too sickly at that point to keep doing it.
mhm.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah. So she turned to acting, and then that's how we know her today.
You have another book coming out in the fall. Are you able to share any details about that?
I am, because that one is coming out in September. It is called The Survivors Guild, and it is a departure from the war stories. We're moving backwards in time to Titanic era. And so this book is about an American heiress and a Lebanese immigrant who are aboard the Titanic. Because it opens on the shipwreck. So we start on the ship, and the ship wrecks, and these women survive together and end up entrusted with the youngest survivor, who is a baby boy who has not been claimed by anybody. So presumably, whoever he was traveling with is gone and has not survived this shipwreck. And so these two women work together to form a charitable committee to try to place this child with any surviving family and help other survivors. And at the same time, the American heiress is engaged to a British lord, and the Lebanese immigrant is trying to earn enough money to bring her family over to America. And so they are both very much grappling with what New York society expects of them and the expectations their
Mhm.
families have of them. And also with this new reality now that they've been through a literal life and death experience.
I've been doing some research into New York during the 1911, 1912 time
Oh yeah?
frame, and that was quite the era of not just within the country, but within that city itself. That was,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
explode.
was
Explosions, quite literally.
literally, exactly. I know there was so many things I could have delved into there with that book. And in that era, because like you said, so much was happening, and it was such an interesting time because like we're moving out of the progressive age into the or out of the Gilded Age into the progressive era, and so there's so much change going on structurally in terms of society, but you've still got these uber rich people who are clinging to that, and you've got kind of this burgeoning middle class happening, and you've got the still very poor lower class, and then the Titanic happens, and just all these things, and there is so much going on. It was so interesting to read about.
Yeah, I was reading about when the Gilded Age actually ends.
Yeah.
Like what they say, and some people actually say it is at Titanic. Some people claim it
Yeah.
was a Titanic. Some claim that it was World War One. Some
Hmm.
claim it was at the start of the Progressive Era. But it's also like with Progressive Era has to start with something, has to start somewhere.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, it's all very kind of muddy waters there. And all kind
yeah,
of bled together. And I guess everybody has their own opinions also. So it's anybody's guess.
yeah. And it was just at the Titanic Museum, and
Ah,
that was such a cool museum. So
I
cool.
went to, there was a traveling exhibit that was in New York, and I
Mhm.
was in New York at the time. And I went to that, and it was absolutely incredible and so
Mhm.
moving, and just so many stories and artifacts, and just really well done.
Yeah, the one in Belfast, because that's where it was built. So
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
have this whole thing dedicated to it. And at the end of like you go through the museum, and towards the end of the museum, they have they have a lot of art installations that go along with everything. So it was very innovative, but they had these dominoes that were stacked up the way they did it, and it was like and they slowly fall.
Oh wow.
And but at the top was this is what happened in this on the Titanic, and this was the result of what afterwards. So like on the Titanic they didn't have as many lifeboats as they should
Mhm.
have. The
Right.
result at the bottom was okay, you have to have you have enough lifeboats for everybody that's going to be on the
Yeah.
ship. And so they had stuff like that like actually affected modern day stuff that and so you could see like okay, now I can understand why they say progressive era started at the
Yeah, that's a
Titanic.
very good point. Yeah, because like you said, that's the reason that those regulations got changed. So that's a very
Mhm.
good point. That's interesting.
So
Well, I guess I need to go to Belfast.
Right.
yes, I'm down for it. I just realized that there's a place called the Writers Square in Belfast that I completely missed when I was there, and I'm like now I need to go back because I
You
missed
just have
it.
to go back. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, congratulations on having two books coming out
Thank
in
Yeah.
you.
one year. That's incredible. That's amazing.
You
Thank
must be
you. I'm
exhausted.
excited. I
Thank you.
am very excited. What did I do over the holidays? Right. Last year and this year. So yeah, it's been a lot, but it's been good. I'm glad, and I'm excited for both books. Star Society has been finding its readers, which has been lovely, and I am excited for everyone to read the Survivors Guild too.
Do you get to have any downtime now in between this book and September?
Not really, because I mean, I also work full time. So I'm working full
Mm.
time and I'm publishing two books this year, and I'm trying to figure out what's coming after Survivors Guild. I'm done with the edits on Survivors Guild, except for the final pass, which is past pages, which is where we basically just read it like in ebook format, essentially. So it's not major changes, but it's that final kind of look to catch typos and things. So I'll get that at some point, probably before the summer, I would guess. But no more work on that book. So I'll move into like the marketing and stuff eventually. But technically, I guess there will be a slight break. I say that. They're probably not going to give me one. Like, watch me get past pages tomorrow. But yeah, so we'll see. But that's where we are. So I'm excited. So it's a good kind of busy.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah. When it rains,
Well,
it pours, and you gotta, yeah, take it while we get it. So that's fantastic.
Exactly.
It's a good pour, though. It's a
Mm.
good rain.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, everyone, if you would like to get your own copy of the Star Society, be sure to check our show notes. We'll have the link to our bookshop on bookshop.org there. As always, bookshop.org supports our incredible writers. It supports the podcast, but most importantly, it supports all of the wonderful indie bookstores out there. And I guess you're just going to be back in September.
Yeah. Save the date. I'll be here.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. We've had so much fun chatting with you.
I have too. Thank y'all for having me. This has been great.
Have a
It was
wonderful rest
great.
of your evening.
Y'all too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.